I'm Matt Braunger. This might help.
I am not a doctor.
This might help.
I'm not a professional.
Let's have fun. This honestly is a good time.
Honestly, I got no idea what I'm doing. What's going on? Who are you?
I'm Matt Braunger. This might help. The podcast.
Hey, thanks again for listening to yet again another This Might Help with Matt Braunger. Back again. The advice podcast that doesn't know why it's giving advice. Honestly, guys, I do this just for fun. If you actually need clinical help, like I receive from a licensed therapist, get that. This is a show that might help, and it's mostly for fun. I have a great guest on today. We've never met face to face, but one thing I will say for the somehow wet garbage but on fire website Twitter is that I do discover very, very interesting people and interesting voices and friends of friends who I then connect with. I have one such guest on today. She is the digital editor for Rolling Stone. She's also written on various platforms, edited on Buzzfeed as well as the New York Times, correct? Yes. Mm-hmm. Lisa Tozzi. Is it Tozzi? Is that how you say your name?
It's Tozzi. You got it right.
Yes. Okay, good. As one whose name is often butchered, that means a lot to get it on the first try. How are you?
I'm well. Yeah. I mean, I always feel weird about how are you and what my answer should be. I think during the pandemic,
yes,
I've swung from like just unloading every thought that ever popped into my head when somebody asks me, and then I just sort of was like, I'm scaring people. Maybe I just should just pretend I'm okay.
No, hey, Lisa, I would really appreciate it if you'd feel free to unload every thought, because that's kind of what we do here. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So if you got something you want to barf, go ahead.
Okay.
You know.
Well, one thing that's freaking me out right now is, and it's been going on for a while, but it just seems like this week it's hitting like a real like critical point, is that everyone's just decided that the pandemic is done.
Yeah.
And we can all just like live our lives the way that people imagine they lived their lives before the pandemic.
Right.
And it's not to be like bad news Betty or anything, but there's still 2,000 people dying a day. And so it's that whole thing has I think for the past few months has really kind of messed with my head a bit.
Yeah, I mean, how can it not?
Yeah.
I think just off the top of my head, the thing that's been bugging me is the prevailing idea of just people who are like, look, I'm not going to let them tell me what I should do, but I wish they'd tell me what I should do already. Hurry up and tell me. No, don't tell me what to do, but can you tell me when it's safe? You jerk. It's like we're all children and we're flailing.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
But
there's definitely some of that happening, right? Like there's a lot of, we sort of have been left a little like on our own for a number of reasons.
Yes.
That like even from the beginning, it's kind of been like on you to decide how you want to, like how much risk you want to take, and there hasn't been like concrete like guidance for a number of reasons, and and I think that and then there's also no real like safety net or support in this country, or like
I feel like
medical
I feel like we as human beings, because we have all this knowledge that we have access to literally right away, we are addicted to the idea of certainty, and there just isn't any, in a real sense, besides, death and taxes kind of thing. Like it's, you have to understand that we're always learning, and that's never going to end. You get that in your head right away, This is from someone who approaches life as kind of an idiot in a lot of ways, but it's all about giving it the old shot. But yeah, it's like, I understand. I want someone to go to this Walgreens and you won't get COVID. This one's safe.
Yeah.
Great. So I can go there and get my toilet paper and not wear a mask. Great. But that just doesn't exist. So, and it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
Especially now, but yeah, I agree. People want they want a starter pistol to go off and go out.
Yeah. Like life returns to normal.
Wow.
And like life wasn't normal before.
Right.
I mean, I don't even know what the barometer of normalcy is really.
Yeah.
And I mean, is it, I think people have fixated on like, it's not wearing not wearing masks, everything will be normal. And
right.
I don't know. I live in New York City. I ride the subway a lot. I might wear a mask on the subway for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get it. And it's kind of like, I understand people's frustrations wearing masks. They are rough and stuff, but it's kind of, it's really on the person's comfort zone. And people that have said that, I don't go, oh God, I can't believe it. I kind of go, yeah, if, on the main, that's definitely the safest thing, because of the amount of people that are all that close at all times,
Yeah, I think the subway and like airplanes, those are pretty much, they might be my like if the last to go for me personally.
Sure.
But then there's these people that are like, oh, I'm so mad. I see people wearing masks outside, and they get so like hulky about it. And and I'm like, why do you care? Like,
yeah, no, I know.
It's
I just think it's the people are predisposed to think someone else is feeling one way or the other about them, as if someone passing me the mask is looking at me like I'm kind of a pile of garbage. I do remember at the beginning of where we were kind of trying to figure out where or when you don't wear a mask. And I think it was far more annoying, because, now I put it on and I don't really think about it in the supermarket because it's been so long. But like my wife was visibly pregnant at the time and we're walking down the street, no one on the street besides us. And there's a woman power walking towards us and she has a mask on and she sees us. She sees we don't have a mask. And she's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like she yells it at us. She's like 10 feet away. And I'm like, what? And I think her idea was like, you're not wearing a mask. Get out of my way. Go stand in the street. And I was like, and I go, hey, she's pregnant. And she goes, unbelievable. And keeps walking. And I was like, no, you should believe it. It's true. She has a baby in her. Like I said something like, because I was just like, at this point, you're so mad. I'm just going to, I'm sorry.
Right.
Rather than erupt on you for screaming in our face. But I do feel, look, as someone from, the liberal bastion of Portland, Oregon, and now I live in a blue state and stuff, and that's how I feel. But it's like there are people on my side politically that are like, all I have to do is kill that guy, and then it all goes away. And it's just, I was like, oh, you just left the house with a chip on your shoulder. You saw two people without a mask, and you were like, burn them at the stake. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, I don't think
it's such an angry time.
I don't think the pandemic has done anything for like people learning how to interact in productive ways. I think initially there was this kind of hope that maybe this would bring out the best in people, and in some ways it did at first. Like people seemed like helpful and caring, and people still do in certain circumstances. I mean, New York gets a bad rap for being rude or whatever.
Right.
But I think that New York is one of like the best places. I mean, I'm biased, of course, but because I find people really helpful.
I couldn't agree more.
Supportive of one another, because you kind of have to live. You live so close to each other that you kind of have to be.
Yes.
There's no escape.
Yeah, the idea that we have to, that is the thing I will say about urban areas specifically, is that you eventually come around to the idea that we have to live together, and my life is going to be better if I help yours on some level. And I've always felt that from New Yorkers, and when I went to college in Purchase, and so I'd go into the city a lot, and I remember being in Manhattan, and my then girlfriend's car was snowed in, and a guy was shoveling his walk, and he was like, just go in my basement, there's a shovel. Go in my basement. Like, I went in his basement. Just send a stranger into his home. And I was just like, I remember in that moment just being so struck by that stereotype of New Yorkers just being a-holes, because it is that thing that you're better off learning sooner than later. That it's really going to help your life if you put yourself in a position to like, oh, how can I help? How can I coordinate? Rather than I need to win, that person needs to lose, and that is the thing I wanted to mention to you actually is, we were talking about, you were mentioning how we felt like this would make us coexist better, and it really kind of hasn't on the main. But I also feel a lot of that is because of clickbait, because the stuff that does make the news is us at each other's throats. And I get it. A person doing a random act of kindness is going to be in some random Instagram page or something, but it's not going to be on the front page of this, that, or the other. I'm not calling out any real media platform. It's just, it is what it is. So that's what we learn about more than we learn about, let's just say the good stuff. Because there has been a lot of us who have kind of gone, okay, we have to kind of let the steam out on this collective anxiety on some level. I talk about it in my act about when my wife and I drove across the country. We kind of snapped and drove all the way to her parents' house in Massachusetts from Los Angeles with a 6-week-old. And I met every kind of person. Well, this was the end of 2020. And we drove home for basically like the month of November. We just lived there and then we drove home. But I basically talked about how like I met every kind of person, a lot of whom I probably would disagree with diametrically, but because we were face to face and we were all going through this thing, we were never at each other's necks, even though I was the only guy wearing a mask getting takeout at the Cracker Barrel. This was possibly before they started yelling at people with masks, or whatever. But like, I don't know. Because I didn't have a lot of that beef. And, we were in Louisiana when they declared Biden the winner. And we were in New Orleans, a kind of blue bubble there. But, not to look at it through rosy colored glasses, but I was just like, look, I was boots on the ground, and you'd see all this stuff in the news about, it's kind of like Portland, how, the whole city's on fire. It's like, no, there's a couple dumpsters on fire in one block downtown where nobody lives. It's near the courthouse. Right. There's nobody there. So, do you know what I mean? And you see all this firsthand. And so what would be your take on that? I'm sorry. I just threw a few kitchen sinks at you. I'm very sorry.
No, that's okay. So I do think that this predate this, kind of thing with the whole, like, if it bleeds, it leads kind of ethos of news. It has like way predates the internet and 100%. Predates TV, like, the ye olde newspapers, like they were doing the same thing. Yes. And it's actually really fun to go back and read like old reports and see how like, say like biased and how like just some like just inappropriate some of the things are.
Yeah.
But I also think that there are a lot of people who are in this industry that don't want to are very careful. I didn't want to give you the impression that this is all
a tribe of vultures. I really do respect the profession very highly, and I think we see it for what it is. Yeah, you're right. The if it bleeds it leads thing has been Randolph Hearst. You write the story, I'll provide the war. It's like insane. You know. And so anyway, go on.
Oh no, that's okay. So I think that I mean the internet has not made it better at all. Right. I think that the ability to kind of not just blow like one misunderstood interaction out of proportion, but to like wholesale like make up what happened and then ship it out to, you know, thousands and millions of people, is horrifying. And so I think I've been lucky that I've worked in places where that isn't the norm. I think that some people, you know, you end up working in different places and having to adjust to the rules of where you are and what your boss wants and that sort of thing. And so I feel fortunate that my bosses and my colleagues, for the most part, have been like careful and not, and I haven't worked in a place where it's like, I mean, I think if you work at like a cable news outlet, like, and your job is to have people talking 24/7, never stop talking.
Yeah.
There were going to be a lot of crazy moments, and mistakes and things like that.
Yeah.
I think the horror is when, like, you know, people are leaning into who they stop caring that there are incorrect information, that there's lies being told, or
there's
whatever, and then they like lean
ramifications.
into it.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, this is, you know, is this worthy? Should we even be sharing this? You know,
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. I think the problem is, a huge part of it is the 24-hour news thing, where you just have 6 faces on a screen, literally talking about nothing, kind of pontificating and talking about other scenarios this one reminds them of. Where it's like, what are we doing? This isn't helpful at all. This is a waste of time.
Yeah, when I have been, I've covered a lot, like been involved in a lot of politics coverage, election night coverage, and like also a lot of, you know, disasters of natural disasters and terrorist attacks and things like that.
Wow.
And whenever those things happen, there's always this huge gap of like when no one has any information, you know, like the thing has happened, everyone's trying to piece together what happened, you're like running around and or like with election nights, you're like, people are voting for hours and hours and hours and hours, and like, what do you do in between this time? Those are the days where I'm like, thank God I did not go into TV, because I think that is honestly both terrifying and horrible. And I'm, you know, good on you if you're good at it. But
no, exactly. It's like being a politician. Like, how do you deal with the hours? How do you deal with all the machinations and things? And I think it's like that when you are that, you know, commentator, anchor person. Well, we don't know anything yet, but we will keep you updated. And people at home are screaming at you. Where, I mean, I like to read an article and go, look, okay, this, great. Now I know this, and I know this, and I know what I don't know, and I'm done with the article. There we go. You know?
Right. And some of this gets back to what you started with like the people's need for like definite information, information, definite, like, this is the thing, this is what happened, this is what you can do. And you don't, like, life isn't like that. And you know, I'm as annoyed as anyone else, but it's just not.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is. I mean, I do look at how I've been very lucky in my life, but it is, so much of it is kind of, well, there's treats along the way, but it's a slog. And there you go.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, the analogy I've used, I can't even imagine how many times on this show or in my life, but is like, look, life is not Star Wars. We're not going to blow up the Death Star and all the bad goes away. It's just not going to happen. And I think that's what's happening with those people that are burning books. That's what's happening with people where it's just like, just make it go away. Like this morning I was thinking about the amount of people in this country now who are like, it's witchcraft. And you're like, you know, you wish it was witchcraft. If it was witchcraft, that'd be fascinating. It'd be like, wow, well, let's get a good witch to show up and fight this bad witch, and then we're good. Who knows a good witch? It's like, there we go, good versus evil. We're done. We're done. So cool. I just have to be.
I know this great witch who knows a spell to solve world hunger.
Yeah.
Check
Problem
her
is,
out.
she's really high right now. So I don't want to come at her now. Just let her hang out. And when she starts coming down, I'm going to bring over a casserole. And then we'll have a talk if she wants to get into it. It is her sister that she's got to fight. So that's tough. Maybe they should talk. Yeah, like you wish it was something like that. You wish it was, and then but it just isn't, and it's like, I have a kid and you kind of want to have these, I just don't know what's going to happen when I have to have these definitive answers. And I look like, King Wishy-Wash when I'm kind of just like, well, yeah, we're all learning, Dada too, so it's but
I have so much respect. I've always had respect for people with children, but I have so much more than even possible during the pandemic, because it's just been so. My sisters each have 2 kids, and I have a lot of friends that have kids, and it's just, I just am so impressed, like on a daily basis, that they can keep doing what they're doing, and just frustrated for them.
No, look, I appreciate that. I would say don't put me in that group, because Rose is only a year and a half now. So with the 2020, my job got wiped out. I make most of my money on the road, and so I just stayed home and I parented. And it was so lucky to have that and not just sit there with banging my head against a wall and being like, my worth has been taken away, that's dumb thoughts that come in your head. So I got lucky there, but my friends with kids that were older than 3, they were in hell, because you have this kid and Rose is coming into that age where it's like, why do I have to leave the park? Why can't, she had COVID, and I would take her to like the park with the biggest field and be like, run wild. And she would see a kid, like a spot on the horizon, and chased. And I'm like, no. And she'd go crazy. Like, why not? And so it's like those people that were, but she only had it for a week, and then she's negative, and she was non-symptomatic. So awesome. Anyway, long story long, like people that had kids that were older than 3 or 4, like I can't imagine why can't I go to school? Why do I have to wear this mask at school? Why are we home again? Why is my best friend's dad yelling at me for having a mask? Whatever it is. It's just being a parent.
Right.
Yeah, to that's so I'm with you. I can't, it's just, my heart goes out to them. It's just crazy, Yeah. Such a weird time.
Truly weird.
Yeah. But like you are, so explain to me, like, I know your background is in writing. Yes.
Yeah. And editing and web things.
Sure.
I think, in, like 2000, I started working at the New York Times to do like web production and work on the politics, the 2000 presidential election, which I thought that was going to be the craziest election of my lifetime.
I would argue it still is. To me, when I'm remembering that, insane with the hanging Chad and all that stuff, that seemed more insane than this one, because this one it was like, oh, we're just waiting for the mail-ins to go in. You just had people that are like, mail-ins don't count, and it's like, they always did. What are you talking about? You don't like that they're coming in, and I get that. And it was just, to me, it was just a lot more noise this time. To me, the 2000 election was much more insane.
Yeah, it was. I think it was partly. It was partly because nothing, in our like lifetimes, nothing like that, close to that had really happened before.
Right.
And I think that looking back on it too, it was like sort of the beginning of, a lot of the crazy that continues and accelerates into this day.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a wild one. So I worked at the Times in a whole bunch of different jobs for 13 years, and mostly like did politics and national coverage, and then did a couple other stints on other desks, and it was really fun.
Nice.
And then I was given a chance to go to Buzzfeed and become and help them build a news department.
Okay.
So then I did that, and I was there for a while. Yeah. So when I went to Buzzfeed, there was they still exist, I guess, but it was very much the days of can this site known for cat gifs and goofy lists do news?
Right.
And now they have a Pulitzer, so yeah.
Well, I mean, it's yeah, it's like what, the DVD and the mail company is going to make their own shows? Oh wait, yeah, it's just anything can become any. I mean, I'm about to take a couple projects out to pitch, and one of which is this giant one I've been developing for literally 2 years with this really great writer, and we're just starting to set them, and I was just like, I said something like, I'm excited to pitch this to Peloton Chevron when it, it's just, you don't know what insanity, what merger is going to happen, and it's going to be like Uber wants to make their own movies, about cars. No, it's gonna be more Merchant Ivory stuff. Like what? Like
no cars.
No cars.
Free
Yeah,
cars.
It's gonna be just curveballs. Like everyone's gonna be getting into the most insane avenues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just anyway. Yeah. So it's. I feel like that's it. I'm sure that was a bold move for you, but I think it was also a smart one though, because you're just okay. I'm bringing my expertise. You're like, yeah, NYT is going to be fine. They're, it's an institution that has evolved brilliantly. And so then, BuzzFeed and now Rolling Stone, which certainly needs, the immediacy that you bring,
yeah. It's been really fun. I've only been here since October.
Oh, wow.
But it's been great. It's really fun. I grew up like a lot of people. I grew up reading Rolling Stone. I had a subscription from the time I was 11 or something.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool every once in a while when I'm like, oh yeah, I'll be on the phone talking this is Lisa Tozzi from Rolling Stone, and I'll be like, I just said that. That's
yeah. Yeah.
That the first few times I did that, I thought that was really cool.
Absolutely.
And then the burger place is like, Miss, I don't care. What's your order?
Yeah, that's so funny. But when I mentioned life is about the little treats. I mean, I know people. We have a lot of listeners who are kind of like, oh, I could never see myself doing this. I could never see. It's like, well, that's so much bigger than me, and it's like nothing's bigger than any of us. You just you have to kind of see yourself as being able to be on that level because so many of these platforms, and be it writing or educating or being a performer or whatever kind of thing, they need different voices, and they need different perspectives and things like that, and you have them. So and no matter how big you get, there's always a part of you that has that thing. I was on Joe Coy's podcast. He's a friend, and he's basically like Coca-Cola now. He'll just be like, oh, I sold this stadium out 5 nights in a row. I'm just like, 5 nights at a stadium? Who are you? And he's the most humble guy in the world, but I'm just like, you're basically a Filipino Jesus Christ, dude. I don't know what's going. This is insane. But he played this theater that comparatively is not as big as his others, but it's where Eddie Murphy shot Delirious, and the door that Eddie came out of, he was like, they keep it blocked up. They just don't use it. And he's like, we're unblocking that door. I'm going to come out of that door. And the tech guys were like, whoa, okay, we got to move the lights. And he's like, I will pay whatever. And it's kind of like he's losing his mind. You know what I mean? So it's just, I think all of us, if we have any kind of spirit or heart, geek out about stuff like that. I would lose my mind if I was like, yes, this is Matt Braunger of Rolling Stone. You know, I think I would do, I remember when I was on Up All Night, Will Arnett did this funny thing that I've totally stolen, where if you say something that sounds even remotely like a brag, you yell, "Yeah, I said it," and to fill the room. Where we were like talking about, we were having lunch, and he was just like, he's like, yeah, I was walking down blah blah blah, whatever street he said. He's like, so I live in New York City. Yeah, I said it. Like, it's so dumb. But it's like, you should do that next time. You know, I work for a Rolling Stone magazine, cover the phone. Yeah, I said it. And we were wondering if you've heard any, you know.
Then the person not taking my order is really going to be confused.
I know you said it. You yelled it.
You yelled it, but we don't care.
Yeah.
Like the ultimate, ma'am, this is a Wendy's.
Yeah. I love, I'll go to the calls, but I love ma'am and sir are the funniest phrases by themselves to me if you just say them over and over with an urgency. Because I was talking with another friend of mine who we both used to wait tables together, and we were like, the most power we ever had over like a stumblingly drunk person knocking over chairs, you know, just belligerent, is just to say sir over and over. Sir, please, sir. Ma'am, if you could not take that, ma'am, you know.
My dad owned restaurants when I was a kid, and I started working in them when I was like 10.
Whoa.
And you learn that trick really fast. And
yes.
Everyone is ma'am and sir, because that, like, it's supposed to, like, it like shocks them for a second. especially when you're a kid and you're like have like very little like power anywhere, but especially in a nice restaurant. And so I just reflexively call people ma'am and sir.
Yeah.
Still, many years later, even if they're younger than me, like,
yeah.
Like, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, ma'am, I mean, if you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, most women get a little offended because ma'am sounds like an older person. Sir, not so much. No. You know, sir is just kind of all around. You know, and obviously that's society's predisposition to judge a woman for her age, obviously. Yeah. So that's built in all of us. But yeah, it's like ma'am, but there's miss just doesn't have the power.
Miss is kind of weird. I mean, I don't care if people, I know the intention. I mean, I don't really care if people think, I mean, I'm older now, but also like even back, you know, when I wasn't, I don't really care about the ma'ams or the sirs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just people trying sometimes to be polite or to tell you to like watch your shit.
Watch your shit. You've had too many, please. Yeah, exactly. Like, so where were your father's restaurants?
In New Jersey.
Okay. That's where you're from.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I'm from.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of restaurants were they?
So there were mostly two at different times when I was growing up. One, when I was younger, it was when I was, you know, the one I started working in was like one of those like big fancy-ish restaurants that has like a pub downstairs and then a main dining room and then like an upstairs like for like banquets and things. Yeah. It was a very big restaurant, and it had like one of those old-fashioned like wooden coat rooms.
Oh yeah.
So that was my first job, was taking coats.
Okay. Yeah.
And reading Judy Blume in between coats.
Nice. Sure.
And getting some tips for that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then later he sold that place and he bought like the opposite of that place, which was, it was still like, it was still pretty fancy, but like it was like a 15 table place.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then I was like doing, like waiting tables and filling water glasses and changing ashtrays, because you used to have to do that.
Wow. Yeah. I did was just on the cusp of when that ended in Chicago. I remember,
Mhm.
I was basically in like a corporate brew pub. So it was
Mhm.
like Applebee's if they made their own beer. So we didn't really, I don't think we allowed smoking, but most bars did. It was Chicago. So it was
Mhm.
you smoked in bars, what you did,
Mhm.
kind of thing. So yeah, but I was there for, the end of that, where that just, most places it's gone.
Wild when I think about it. I like that
Mhm.
people used to just smoke anywhere,
Oh yeah.
and it like on planes. I remember being
Yes. Hmm.
on like my first like international flight, and like
Yep.
half the plane like lit up as soon as takeoff happened, and I was like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, I flew Air Kuwait to Amsterdam in the late '90s, and my friend Dan sat in front of me and just like, oh sweet, and just lit up, and I was like, Dan, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, come on,
You
dude.
get off the plane and you're like so queasy.
Oh, I mean, it's bad enough. I
Smell
lived next door
bad.
to a 4 a.m. bar, like up until 4 when I was in
Mhm.
Chicago. And, when I remember we'd go there a couple nights a week sometimes, and like, it just the stink of my laundry, just the
Yeah.
smell of cigarettes in all of my clothes. It's, as I say it, I feel it like viscerally. I
Mhm.
remember that smell.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
bad, so
Very,
bad.
very bad.
But it is.
Cigarettes and like stale food,
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing going
Yes.
on.
Yes.
That was not
Yeah.
not good.
Not good, but we're better for that perspective, both in
Yes,
having
we're very
done those jobs and having lived in that time,
yes.
where I'm not going to be jealous of Rose for living in this other time where people aren't smoking everywhere, but I'm going to love telling her stories about it.
Mhm.
It's going to be fun.
Mhm.
That's the angle I'm going to take rather than I walk, uphill both ways to school,
Yeah.
that whole thing, but just be like,
Yeah.
look, I'm glad it's better. I'm glad you
Yeah.
don't, you know. Your lungs
Here's a
won't burn.
crazy thing that used to happen.
Yes, that you won't
Yeah.
believe. Um,
Yeah.
so if you're ready, let's get to the calls. Do you want to
Sure.
try it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
sweet. I always ask, do you get asked advice? I'd imagine you do.
I do. I do get asked advice.
Okay.
I am the classic oldest daughter. And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I get I grew up getting asked and giving advice, and
Uh-huh.
I I guess I like to tell people what to do, but I do believe it's like an honor to be asked your opinion, and like on a on something that is somebody's finding complicated.
Hmm.
And I try hard to be thoughtful about it.
Well, it's great. And I mean, I will say you have an insane amount of perspective because of what you do. You know what I mean? You have to, because
Yeah.
you're getting all this information all the time, and you're
Yeah.
kind of deciding, okay, what do I put, here or there,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so this sounds nefarious, but I feel like you know the angles more than most.
I don't know, but I do know that I also have a very good therapist.
Nice.
And I
That's
think
huge.
that helps too.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah. Right on. Okay, well, I don't listen to the calls. That's kind of the maybe the hook of this show. It's like Renee hears them and he'll pick out just 2, 3. I do have one I think that someone wrote in for us too that I haven't pulled up yet. But yeah, so it's it's you and me listening to it for the first time together.
Cool.
So
Okay, great.
all right, so Renee, roll the first call.
Hey, Matt. How's it going? Long time, first time. I really love your comedy and I love this podcast. I
Thanks.
haven't really had anything to ask you about because my life is, I wouldn't maybe say perfect, but like smooth sailing. But I did want to get your input on this thing that's happening to a friend of mine. She's part of another friend group. They get together and do parties with potlucks. And my friend is like, well, pretty well known for her delicious food. And there's one lady who brings peanut butter cookies. And my friend has asked her for the recipe. And this lady won't give it to her. And I'm like, the internet exists. There are no more secrets. So what would you maybe say to this friend of mine who is having a little bit of trouble getting this cookie recipe? Anyway, thank you. Love you. It's so great that you're having so much success. Okay, bye.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. That was a delight.
It was lovely.
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah.
God, I love the confidence. I love it. I love that she's happy with her life.
Like,
and
congratulations.
seriously.
Do we know her name?
No, I did. She did not give her
Yeah.
name.
I
Which
mean, congratulations, lady. You are
Yeah.
doing life right.
And honestly, thank you for sharing. Like it's hard to get people to call if you're listening to the podcast. If you have something a friend's dealing with, just call that in. The cool thing about this is anonymous. No one's ever gonna know. And this is not fresh air. Okay, I don't get millions of listeners, so it's not like someone's gonna be like, "Hey, that sounds like Gary." Like that's not gonna happen. So like, go ahead and dish. Wow, I don't know what would be your thoughts about the peanut butter cookie situation.
I do know that there are a number of people who don't like to share their like special recipes for whatever reason. I think like people who like were maybe like a generation or so older than me, maybe that like it was probably more common. Like now there's like everything like the caller said, everything's on the internet. Like people share like that they're cooking something from, New York Times Cooking, or like, Allison Roman told me about this. So like it's very common to like talk about your recipes or where you found something. But for whatever reason, this woman maybe feels very protective of this recipe because maybe it's like the best thing she makes, and she doesn't want other people to get in on her thing.
Right.
And so what I would suggest to the friend is, if you ask her a few times and she doesn't want to do it, like not to take it personally, just to kind of, have the grace to be like, well, whatever reason, she doesn't want to give me the recipe, and then go find a good recipe on somewhere else. There's this recipe for peanut butter cookies with like miso in them that Kristen over at New York Times Cooking invented, and it's really good. And I like to put like some black sesame seeds on them, and they're really great. So if you want a peanut butter cookie recipe, I would check that one out.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to devil's advocate this a little bit, but it's like I have to go into the realm of the ridiculous, where this person is coming over with these peanut butter cookies and is like, hi, I thought I'd bring my awesome cookies in front of your shitty food again. And this person they already have so much good food, and this person's just prancing around with their cookies and being like, you guys won't find anything better at this house. Sorry. I don't think that's what's happening. I don't, if that person was that terrible, but it's like,
that would be funnier.
It's that would almost be more enjoyable for sure. Just like, she's such a prick, but those cookies are so good.
Yeah, we just can't stop inviting her over. She just makes the best cookies. We don't know what she's putting in them. Maybe she's putting like a little drug.
Kills it. But these cookies are so good. I hate her. It just seems like that's just her thing, and she wants to. I personally, if I have a recipe that I've discovered I love, just sharing it. I'm like, oh, here, it's this. I'll send it right over. You know,
Me too.
my mother is very excited now, learning she can just send a link to recipes, because she used to be like, well, I
Right.
have to print it out, then scan it. I'm like, no, you don't,
Right.
at all. None of that, you know? And it's like,
Right.
because she thinks it's an inconvenience for this person to open a web page and have to
Right.
be, which I get it, you know, the ads pop up and my parents are like, Satan, you know, like, so I get it. It's like the worst. But yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think, sorry caller, I gotta go with Lisa on this one. I get, you're right. You can find anything on the internet, all that jazz. But if this is and you did say your friend throws these potlucks and your friend is known for making delicious food. It sounds a little bit like your friend is kind of adding to her grand collection, you know? And this person just wants to hold on to their Rothko.
Just wants one
You know?
one cookie recipe.
Look, you don't have to throw my painting on your wall. This is mine. So you have Kandinsky. You have so much good stuff. So me and my brutally weird analogies. Okay, but again, that call made my day. That was so awesome.
That was really nice. I love that.
Way to kick it off. Thanks for calling in. Please call in again. And call in and let us know what happened. You know, if give us a little more detail if you like. You know, give us the play-by-play. Is this person a peanut butter cookie asshole? Please tell us. Which is a new phrase. Okay, Renee, caller number 2.
Hi, Matt Braunger. Hi, guest, who I believe to be Lisa Tozzi coming up. This is friend of the show, Josh Gondelman. I am a little anxious overall, obviously, but about the ongoing pandemic and how to balance that with work obligations and going out into the world and trying to plan to take trips or see friends, attend weddings, family functions. And it just feels like that was always something that was tricky for me pre-pandemic, and now kind of mid and hopefully tail end of pandemic, I'm having trouble like planning for the future and balancing all those different things. And if you had any tips, I'd be very appreciative. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Well, like I said, it's always the
Josh.
jerks that want certainty. Just a real bastard. Josh Gondelman. No. I love just calling him a jerk because he's the nicest guy in the world. So
He's so lovely. He's so nice and kind and thoughtful and just an all-around great guy.
Yeah.
I thought as he started talking, I was like, he sounds like Josh.
I knew it right away. Right away. That's why I was laughing. I'm like, no, that's Gondelman. That is.
I mean, that's his questions, you know, something that I think loads and loads of people, if not everyone's dealing with in some way. And I think everyone kind of handles it like in different ways. I think that like some people have just been like what we were talking about earlier, where it's just like, it's over, it's done. I don't care, I'm done. And they're just gonna do whatever, and they're gonna like, you know, do karaoke in a packed room with you know, and sing in people's faces, and they're not gonna care.
Yeah.
And I think for people who may have been you know, kind of anxious about crowds, I know I was a little bit before, and now I'm having a real hard time thinking about going into crowded places, even though like a lot of my friends are. I haven't been on a plane, you know, like those kinds of things are really difficult. And I think what I try to tell myself, although it doesn't always work, is that like you just kind of have to take your time and do what feels right for you. And do the things that you like, enjoy the things that you can do. Like if you feel comfortable like going out to dinner and eating outside, or like having somebody over, or like or you know, like doing a big outdoor activity, like kind of lean into those things, and just be like kind to yourself about what you feel you can't do, because like getting mad at yourself, or like beating yourself up is like not gonna change how you feel. I've tried it, tried it for decades.
Same.
And let me tell you, I'm really good at it. And if it was gonna work, it would have worked for me already. I would have written a book. I would be on talk shows telling everyone the beat yourself up method.
Yeah.
It is the
I
best.
hate me, and you can.
I hate me and win. Hate yourself and win. That's what we could call it.
Yeah. No, it is. It's literally self-defeating. And while you're doing it, that's kind of the point. Even though you're not a I definitely same thing. Yeah, Josh, I think it's, look, I had road shows in January, and I moved them to, at the earliest, late February. So that's when I go back, and because I feel like March is when we're going to start seeing a little bit more, hate to use the term, but normalcy. And, I think the plan right now is to kind of ride it out till then. Definitely eat outside. Definitely get a good mask, an N95. I have this cool reusable one that's good for like 100 washes in the
Nice.
thing. It's got all the mask stuff, and I recently did a lot of research just trying on different ones, and I wore it in a grocery store with my wife, and I remember being like, oh, I forgot I had a mask on, and that's like never happened. So it's just about kind of suiting yourself up. The thing to keep in mind is, Josh, I know you're vaxxed and boosted. I was vaxxed and boosted, and I got it, but that just meant I checked into a hotel for a week and felt crappy for about 4 days. It sucks, but I never once feared for my life. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be everyone's case, but something like 99% it will be. So everything is calculated risk in life. Literally everything. Staying at home, something could happen. You go outside, something can happen. I'm sorry to bring up the anxiety on you, but it's kind of like, this is just a new one that we're learning how to deal with it, but it is, you also can't shut yourself in. I remember being backstage at the Comedy Store with a comedian, Greg Fitzsimmons, who has basically grown kids, and my kid is brand new. And my wife and I were like trying to put her into looking at daycares. And this was, months and months and months ago. And I was like, part of me is like wondering if it's safe though. And Greg was like, I think it's unsafe to not put her in for her development. And I'm like, you're right, because these places do run safe as any hospital, better than most. Mm-hmm. So that's why they cost money. So it's kind of like
a lot of money.
but worth it. And like so it just comes down to calculated risk, and give yourself treats, Josh, and go have that martini with Maris, and still enjoy your life, and plan a trip in a couple weeks or months, and have that thing, that tack on your calendar that's like, that's when we go to Delaware, wherever you're gonna go.
That's really good advice. I like that, the trip thing. I
just think that's the key to survival, is having something to look forward to. Really having this thing that you're like, boy, this sucks right now, but that's going to be great. And dream about that and plan for that. It's huge. So, it sucks, but I really, really, really do think it's getting better. I really do. So, we just got to hold tight for a little while. That's all.
Yeah. We're in the hardest. This is, we've done this a few times now. This is the hardest part, is like, the winter months, because you're inside a lot.
Yes.
And that's when the, rates have gone up. And I think that, as we get closer to spring, it tends to be a little bit easier, because you can go outside. You don't feel like as much cabin fever. Right. There's like more things to do with people outside if you want to do that. Like, it's just, in general, February and March really just suck anyway. Like, they're just bad months.
Yeah.
So, I say this as like someone who has a birthday in February, and her, like, half of her family is born in like January and February, but like, it is just really like the pits of the month. Like, if I could get rid of them in like August, maybe, like, I would.
Like that. Because the Swelterfest. of
Yeah,
August.
August is just gross. Especially here, and like anywhere.
It was
I lived in
Chicago,
Austin
too.
for a while, and it was just horrible in there too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it used to be absolutely perfect in the Pacific Northwest, but now it's, because of global warming, it's just like
Yeah.
dry. It's like forest fire heat. You're like, great. Oh, can't have nothing.
No.
Yeah. So hope that helps, Josh. And honestly, dude, thank you so much for coming in. You didn't have to do that, and you did. And
Yay! Thanks, Josh.
yeah, I hope this leads to more nice things in your life, and you stop, being so self-centered. It's just an idea. I really hope you. It's so fun. It's just the funnest when someone is.
Everyone does it to him too. Like it's like it's just.
I will say I was lucky enough to have dinner with my wife, and I were in Brooklyn. A show she was producing was shooting there, and we had an outside dinner with Josh and Maris, and I got to be the first person to ask him to his face, why all the cocaine? This was after the whole online BS where people are like, Josh, stop doing coke. Where people, and if anyone doesn't know the joke, he's never done cocaine, and so everyone, please leave it alone. And so I was just like, I just wish you'd, I kind of approached it almost like an intervention. Like, I just wish.
Yeah, I was going to say you had an intervention with him.
Give it a rest. Yeah.
Nice.
And it was very fun to see Maris just go, you had to, didn't you? But they're both so great. So, okay. Are you ready for our third and final call?
I am.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're batting 1,000. Don't blow it. I'm kidding. Joking. Okay, roll the third one.
Good afternoon. This is Michael from St. Louis, Missouri. My question for you guys is, what is sort of the best way to support not only sort of established comics, but also just up-and-coming people? Is it going to their shows, buying albums, streaming their stuff online, or all of the above, I guess? Thank you so much for all the laughs. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Wow. Geez, I'm so touched.
That was nice. These are nice ones.
This is a good show. Like this is,
Yeah.
I mean, not the podcast in general. That's not true. But like this episode.
Oh, it's true.
No, but thank you. No, thank you. But we had some. These calls are so good. This is such a perfect triumvirate. Wow. Look, dude, I think you're coming at it from the right angle, so you're there. Like you're obviously streaming it. You sound like you're going to see people. I think a lot of it is word of mouth. If you have any kind of social media platform, share what you're into. Be like, ooh, I just found out about this person. They're so funny. But you probably don't. So I think it's just mostly like in conversation or, buying albums is huge rather than streaming them. But just streaming them is also enough because albums are expensive. But yeah, I mean, I think you're there, dude. I mean, that's really cool of you to ask. Lisa, you're much more in touch with, I would say the diorama of the stratosphere of information. Is there anything you would add? And we could expand this to not just musicians, but performers in general, or.
Yeah, I just think, I think it's just a kind question, and it's really nice. I think, just, what Matt said, like just word of mouth is a really good thing. Like when you like something, telling other people about it, that you're not just helping, the performer or the show or whatever, but you're like telling a friend or telling another person, about something that you think they would enjoy. So it's like kind of a double bonus.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's exactly it. I really think it's just as simple as, I think so much of us have spread the gospel for things we're into just by kind of sharing our enthusiasms. I feel like we want to go back to the era when we were kids and being like, oh my God, have you seen this show? Or, oh my God, have you seen this movie? And I think most people do that anyway, but it's really cool if you do that with comics because most people love comedy and don't really know that they love comedy. To me, I know you work in journalism, but to me, one of the funniest things is anytime people talk about comedy in an article as if people ever talk about comedy. Nobody talks about comedy. Like nobody, People will reference, it's one of those odd things where everyone is an expert at what they like, and they think what they like is what everyone likes, which isn't true. And it's, you know, it's like when people say, "Ooh, who's the best?" It's just like, for me, it changes on a daily basis, and I don't even think of it that way. I really love how this stratosphere of different voices is what I enjoy, and it's really rare for me to meet one of your actual comedy nerd that knows these people. So, you know, dude, if you're into it like that, then talk about it to other people, and these people will be like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna look that up," and they'll be like, "Wow, I love this YouTube clip," and then when are they coming to town? And that's really how it kind of moves. So
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, social media is horrible for many things, but I think one nice thing about Twitter, especially, I guess, is that I've learned a lot about, you know, something fun to watch, like a movie, a TV show, a comic, like a musician. Like, it's just from people I don't know, really, suggesting those things on social media, and that's really fun. And then and then sometimes there's like a show that, or a, you know, something that a bunch of people on you know, that you talk to only like on the internet about a thing, like that's really fun. Like yeah, I was obsessed with Yellow Jackets, and so like, there was all these
my God,
I mean, I was, you know, at one point I was in a Discord chat with like you know, a bunch of women, mostly in media, just freaking out about it.
It's so up my alley. I can't even handle it. I'm a big horror guy, and like the idea of it, just how well they put the pieces together and everything. And the music, you know,
the music is exceptional. The music is so good.
So good. And my wife does this mentor program, and there's this girl who's in high school that she talks to, and she's on a video call with her, and she's like, "Oh, you want to meet my husband?" And I come look, and it's like Nirvana poster. Is that Silverchair? How do you even know that, man? And she confessed like she got into 90s, you know, grunge and stuff through some program. And I'm like, "Well, so you've seen Yellow Jackets?" She's like, "What's that?" And it's like, "Oh, well, I'll just leave you to this. Enjoy," you know. So I know she's just losing her mind now, you know. And my wife was like she played soccer in high school, and she was like, she's got a scholarship as a goalie. Like, so she lived that, and she's watching those locker room scenes, and she's like, that's it. This is it. Like, they nailed it, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, they did all the things well, I thought.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. So yeah, so there we go. We just did that. You know?
Yes,
like,
that's how you do it.
That's how you do it. How you do it, bro. So this was awesome. You were so fantastic, and
Thank you.
I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here, because I know you have a lot on your plate, I'm sure, on a daily basis. Is there anything, I always ask everybody, is there anything you would like to plug? This doesn't have to be something you're connected with. It could be literally anything, that since you're on here.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess I would love to just plug rollingstone.com.
Nice.
And check it out.
Yep.
And also, if you are interested in adopting a dog that you don't, if you have, or one of the few people who have not yet adopted a pandemic dog, I highly, and you live in the New York area, Badass Brooklyn Animal Rescue is where I rescued my dog, and they do amazing work. And if you want to donate to a dog rescue, they're great people.
It's called Badass Brooklyn.
Animal rescue, yeah. And they take dogs from kill shelters and areas in different parts of the country, and they bring them to New York, and they get them medical care if needed, and they foster them, and they get them ready to be adopted. Yeah, and they're great, and they're just really lovely people who do amazing work.
I will let you get back to the grind, and thank you so much for coming on, and it was awesome. It was
really fun
getting to know you and talking to you and everything. And
yeah, it was same. It was really fun. Thank you so much.
Man, it was nice to have a smart person on for once. Just kidding. Lisa was amazing. I think you'll agree. I have so many other great guests coming up, and if you need any help with anything, why not ask Boneheaded me and my smart guests. Call right now, 323-763-0228. Again, that's 323-763-0228. And thanks.
This Might Help with Matt Braunger was created and hosted by me, Matt Braunger. Produced by Outer Circle Media. Executive producers Matt Kleinschmidt and Robert Kelly for the Laugh Button Podcasts.